What's going on, guys? So we're at the dealership. Shane has to get an oil change, so I'm waiting for him to go in and figure out what he's gonna do, because he's trying to pay like $65 for the oil change instead of $120. But while I'm sitting here, I wanted to talk to y'all. Y'all came from a job interview, came home, got on my laptop, and came across S. Hutchinson's live, and she was streaming Rita's daughter venting and ranting about her living situations with Rita and Bill. I got triggered. I most definitely got triggered. Then I went into Tracy's live and I listened, and everybody is in agreement. All content creators that I came across that was talking about this, Axe April, Tracy, S. Hutchinson, are the three that I listened to that was talking about this situation. And all of them said that baby girl need help, and she does. She most definitely needs help because she's still living with the pain. It has not been resolved. It's not even scabbing over. What she's gone through and is going through has not scabbed over. She's still in a hurting phase. She's still hurting. She's still in a hurting phase. And I know this journey, this trial, this path all too well. I know it personally. I know what this girl is going through. So, out of respect for people that I like, who don't go in on Rita, or they say they try to understand Rita, because there's a couple of content creators that I watch that like Rita's a mess, and then there are some that I watch this, to say, oh, she's just a mother trying to make it. So I'm like, okay, let me deal with Rita with a soft touch, because I don't get her. As a mother, I don't get her, but I'm gonna deal with her delicately, because there are some people out there I respect that, rock with her. Okay. Let me tell y'all what I think of this whole situation, because it's out of control and out of hand. First of all, this young lady needs help. This baby needs help, y'all. And as a parent, you can't say I'm a good parent because I provide a roof, I provide food, and I provide clothes for my kids. Those are things that you're supposed to do. You get no bragging rights, no credibility, because you're doing things for your kids that the law says you have to do. You're supposed to provide a place for them to live. You're supposed to make sure they go to school. You're supposed to make sure they have food on their plate. You're supposed to make sure that they have clothes on their back. If you don't, they can get taken and you can go to jail. So you get no bragging right for being a basic parent. Now, will you go over and beyond and provide self-esteem, self-worth, self-value, good morals? Then that is parenting. The other stuff you're supposed to do. Let me tell you something. Hold on. What's up, guys? Y'all, it is late. Well, it's not that late, but 9:30. Yeah, I started talking about this whole thing with Rita's daughter earlier, and I really got triggered, so I had to stop and calm down. I know where this young lady's coming from. I know her journey. I think I left off the last time talking about you get no credibility or no props for being a basic parent. And a basic parent is a parent that provides basic needs, but has their own selfish, self-centered agenda. That's a basic parent. Everybody has a story. Everybody has their own trials, tribulations that they've gone through, and it affects everybody differently. What I don't understand is how multiple siblings are molested. And Rita said the state dropped the ball on her kids. No, she dropped the ball. Let me explain why I was triggered so bad and I had to stop recording several times. I was molested. I was molested when I was really young. And it happened over years. And there are always signs. Always signs. When a child is being molested, even though they don't speak out, there's always behavioral signs that something is going wrong. I know with my molesters, they were actually older step siblings. Not blood related, but they were my stepfather's sons. And they would come over every summer. And I think they came over every summer for like 3 or 4 years. And doing those summers was not a good time. I didn't tell my mom. I didn't feel the need to tell my stepfather because he was mean to me anyway. But I didn't tell my mom because the threat of being physically assaulted by these guys was real. They would beat me up. So I was afraid to say anything, and I didn't say anything. But there, like I said, there were always signs. I know when my kids were babies, I took a active interest in making sure that what happened to me would not happen to them. I have 4 children. Not one of my children have been molested because I was not willing to drop that ball. So I understand where this young lady is coming from. I really do. It's not an easy journey. It's not an easy journey to come back from. It's not. And actually, once your innocence is taken or stolen from you like that, you don't come back from it. You don't come back from it. You learn how to live with it. Some of us are really successful at hiding them way back in our memory bank, but it still affects us emotionally, mentally. So it is a hard cross to bear, really hard. And I just didn't want my kids to experience that life. I became angry. I became mean. I'd rather fight you than talk to you because I felt like I had no choice at one point in time in my life but to be subjected to hurt and pain. I had no choice. It was not my choice. But as I got older and could fight and learned I could fight and learned that I was good at it, I was not the person you want to piss off because I was already angry. It was always something building like a volcano that was ready to erupt. And my life's philosophy used to be, don't make me mad because I'm going to make you madder than you ever think you can make me. But that comes from being hurt, which turned into anger. So that's how I lived my life for a really long time. And it took me till I was like almost 40 to understand where all this hurt and anger came from. And I had to really reflect back. I had no help. So it took me a long time to work my way through this. This young lady's on YouTube screaming out in pain. That's what I hear. I hear a mother that dropped the ball on their child. That's what I hear. And I do know that there are women out there who will put a man in front of their children. I wanted to hear Rita's response to her child on YouTube screaming out for help. And what I heard her say is, Bill, it's not your fault. You didn't do anything. Your family members did it. Wait, but her daughter said he told the family members to molest her. It was his family that did that to that young woman. And if y'all recall, if any of you guys who heard it, she said that she's physically fighting with this guy. For all intended purposes, it looks like Rita has chosen this man over her child. What's the actual reality of it? None of us know because we're not in her house. We only know what they're willing to put out on YouTube, and they're willing to put quite a bit out there. Let me just say this for those who say, well, Rita's a good mom and Rita loves her kids. Multiple of her children were molested. Where was Rita? How? Okay, maybe one child. But how does 2 or 3 of your children get molested? Not only that, why would you put your children on YouTube to have them talk about their molestation experience? Because clearly this girl that's on YouTube, the 19-year-old, is not over it. She's not over it. She's still in a phase of her life where this is still fresh wounds to her. They're not healed. They're not even scabbed over. And I know what that pain feels like. The only way I can describe it is it's a pain from the gut. It's a pain from your gut. Like you want to explode, but there's nothing and nowhere you can go to release the pain, to release the frustration, to release the anger. When you have all of that balled up into you and there's nowhere to go, you're going to lash out. You're going to scream out. And that's what she's doing. Now, it would be really easy right now for me to attack Rita and say, oh, you're this of a mother, and you're this of a mother, and you're this of a mother, and you're this, and and you had the child in the background screaming, and your attention is on Cash App. But that's not my focus, Rita. My focus is not Rita. My focus is understanding and knowing that this girl is in so much pain right now. The reason I had to redo this video a couple of times is because I did lash out at Rita. I did lash out at her. Rita said, my mom didn't take care of me. My grandmother did. My mom is money hungry. Okay, so I want y'all to hear this. Somebody dropped the ball on Rita. Then instead of her fixing her wounds, she wounded her children. That's what happened. Rita's not healed from something. I've always said I can tell a confident person and how they move, how they react and respond. Rita's platform was built on negativity. And I'm sorry, it is. I don't see Rita as a roaster. I see Rita as this mean, malicious woman who attacks. And in her platform, it gives her control where she's never had control before. That's what I see. Somebody who's fighting for control. And her platform gives her that control, and it allows her to be who she wants to be at that time. That's what I see. I see a woman who has no control, and she comes on YouTube and somewhat gets control. But in the meanwhile, in the background, her priorities are not with her children. They're not. You can't stay on YouTube 4, 5, 6 hours and say, I'm a great mother. Especially with a 2-year-old. I have a 2-year-old grandbaby. And when he's here, there's no way I can stay on YouTube for an hour. For 2 hours. More or less 5, 6, and 7, and 8 hours. CPS has been to Rita's house twice. Not once, but twice. And I think one time with the police. Instead of Rita shutting down YouTube and staying off of YouTube and making sure her house is in order, she does not stay off of YouTube. It's like, I'm not going to let you guys win. I'm going to do what I need to do to get on here to get Cash App. But meanwhile, your children are paying the cost. When my kids were little babies, when my daughter, I put on a bathing suit top and a little bikini bottom, and I said, listen, if somebody touch you in one of these areas and it don't make you feel good, you tell mommy, okay? And she kept saying, okay. I said, no. You tell mommy if somebody touch you and it make you feel funny. And if they tell you that they gonna hurt mommy, you don't believe them. You don't believe them. You tell mommy so mommy can make them go away. And she was like, okay. And I did the same thing with the boys. I put some swimming trunks on. I said, if anybody ever touch you or make you do anything that don't feel right, you let mommy know. And if they say, well, if you tell you going to jail, or if you tell you're going to get in trouble, don't believe them. If they say, if you tell, well, I'm going to kill your mom, don't believe them. I said, because they're lying to you, so you won't tell, because that's bad. You'll tell mommy everything, okay? And mommy will tell you everything. That's how I talk to my babies. Not one of my kids have been molested. Not one. Not one. I was very careful who I would allow to watch my children. And let me give y'all some insight. Shane is not the father of my children. He's helped me raise them. He's been there since they were babies. I was with their father from 14 to 26. My children's father was on crack. I left my children's father because I said, what life would my children have if I stayed with this man? I didn't leave him because I didn't love him. I left him because I had to think of my kids. Not only was he on crack, he was a cheater. He was an abuser. I got to the point where I was so tired of getting hit, I'd hit back. I never forget the last time he slapped me and I hit him back. He said, "Oh, you want to hit? You hit me first." And I told him, I said, "Every time you hit me, I'm going to hit you back." So there were times when we would get into a brawl. I remember he stole $600 in food stamps when there was the paper food stamps and was helping me look for him, knowing he had took it to the dope boy down the street in the projects. I went to the dope boy house and was like, "So my children's father brought my food stamps down here and my kids don't have no food and I need to go to the grocery store." He said, "Well, you shouldn't have left him around your crackhead baby father," and would not give him back. I'll never forget that. Never. There was another time where he owed this drug guy some money. Big time guy. Went up and down from New York all the way down to Atlanta. He owed this guy some money. The guy came to the house and was like, "I want my money." I was like, "Well, he ain't here. What you want?" And I'm like, "He not here." He was like, "Break her arm and let him know we not playing." And I was like, "Break my arm? Break my arm?" And I'm thinking, okay, so if they snap your arm, because it was 3 guys. It was him and 2 other guys. And I was like, okay, if they snap your arm, you can't even scream because your baby's in the other room. I wound up giving him my welfare check. So I could pay his debt off and keep my arm intact. This was the life I was not willing to let my children live. And he wasn't always like that. When we were in school, he was a basketball star. Like, he went into the Marines. He was dishonorably discharged for doing stupid stuff. But his best friend got him on crack and he lost his mind. And once he lost his mind and lost his way, I had to think of me and my kids. I don't put no man before my children. I'm not. I know what that feels like. My mom stayed in a relationship with a man, married to a man for years until he died. It could not stand me. And I became okay with that. I didn't deal with him. This man mentally, physically, and emotionally abused me. He didn't sexually abuse me, but he mentally, physically, and emotionally abused me. Made me feel like I never gonna be amount to nothing. When he died, I went to the funeral to support my mom and my brothers. I didn't even go into church. And my mom put up with this because some women, a piece of man is better than no man. I'd rather have no man than have a piece of man. And I definitely won't have a man around my kids who don't truly cherish them. I know what that's like. I know what that little girl going through. I've been there. And it takes so long to come from there, to heal from there. Because all that hurt is going to turn into anger. I wish this little girl all the best. And she may even have to detach from her mother for a while. And go with her grandmother. Now, Rita said her mother didn't raise her and she's money hungry. But from what I understand and from what has been said, Rita didn't raise the oldest. And she stayed on live 6, 7, 8 hours chasing cash out. I want y'all to think about that. I just feel so sorry for this baby. I know where she is right now. And it's not a good place. It's a very dark, lonely place. You're frustrated, you're angry, and you're hurt. I know that place. I used to talk about my stepfather without crying. Anything, and I would be like, I don't understand why my mother stayed with him. She know he ain't like me. When my stepfather died, I asked my mom, I said, why didn't he like me? And she said, because he couldn't break you. Just like that. The answer just rolled off her tongue, like as if, he didn't like you because he couldn't break you. You wouldn't bow down. He didn't like it. So he saw a light that I didn't see in myself, and he made every attempt to dim it. I would run away from home at 16. Nobody came to look for me. I'm living on the streets. Let me tell y'all something. When I said I've seen some things, I've seen some things. I used to live with this gay couple named Cookie and Steve. I loved them. They took me in. They broke up. I had to move out because they went their own separate ways. Then I moved. I remember, I'll never forget this. I was sitting on the bus stop one time with my luggage. I think I was like 17. I had nowhere to go. So my plan was to stay on the bus stop all night. But then this guy pulled up and he was like, you shouldn't be out here young. And I always look really young for my age. He was like, you're young, you could get hurt out here. I was sitting, let me tell you, I was off Jefferson Davis at the time in Belle Meade, those apartments off Jefferson Davis. And he was like, you shouldn't be over here, you know, you shouldn't be out here. This is not a good place. You can come stay. I didn't know this guy from Adam. I just went in his house. Went right on in his house. So I go in there. He was like, no strings attached. I got a 2-bedroom. You can sleep in the other room. So I go in the other room, get in my night clothes. Everything was fine until like 3:30 in the morning. Because he picked me up at like midnight. Like at 3:30 in the morning, he came in the room. He was like, I know I say I ain't want nothing from you, but in order for you to stay here, you got to give me what I want. Or you got to leave. I picked up my stuff, put it in the bag, and I walked out his door. And it's so funny, years later, I saw this guy. He was like, I know you from somewhere. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. I was vindicated because he was in the car with this guy. And he kept saying, I know her from somewhere. I know her from somewhere. I said, remember a girl you picked up off the bus stop? Remember you brung me to your house and told me you ain't want nothing. But then you came in there like 3, 4 in the morning talking about I had to give you what you wanted or I had to get out your house. His friend was like, man, tell me you ain't do that bogus stuff. I was like, yeah, I had to leave. Because I didn't know if that dude was going to rape me. He was like, man, you foul, you foul, you foul. That's when I was living on Hall Street. Ran into him when I was living on Hall Street in these apartments. They was called Hilltop at the time. So I've been through some stuff. And it was another situation where... and this is when I was young, before me and his dad, me and the kid's dad was together, but he was living at home. He a teenager, he living at home. I'm on the street. And there were times I would crawl through his bedroom window and sleep there. But there were times I couldn't. So, you know, I was literally out there. I've gone and I remember this one girl I lived with, she was on, it was when crack was first hitting. She got on crack and she was so pretty. And the next thing I know, she had this line at her door. Not literally, but I mean, it used to be a revolving door of dudes just in and out, in and out. I was like, oh, I ain't gonna be able to stay here. Then it was this girl I met in school, because at the time I was still in school. It was this girl I met in, I think my 3rd or 4th period class. I told her my situation. She let me move in with her, but then her mom was trying to sell us. I'm like, what the hell? Like, this lady is literally trying to sell us for drugs. So I left and I asked her, I said, are you sleeping with these dudes? And because I had been molested, I had already had a thing about men touching me. I did not want nobody to touch me against my will. I did not want nobody to touch me. That was not something I was willing to compromise on. My first time having sex, I was 19. Where I was willing to have sex. Where I wanted to have sex. I had a boyfriend from 14, but because I went through molestation, I didn't want anything to do with sex. Because I felt like I can control my body now. My body was mine. And I didn't want to give it to somebody because they wanted it. Because I had no choice about that at one point. But... so when the girl's mom kept trying to sell us, I was like, I got to get out of here. And people say, oh, this boy threatened this. I've lived with some goons. I've lived with some people, some street guys. They don't do all that talking. They don't be threatening. You don't know nothing's going to happen until it happens. So when people say, oh, he a goon and he this and he this and he that. I've seen the way real goons move, and they don't move with a lot of noise. That's one thing I can say. They don't move with a lot of noise. You don't know what's going on until after it has happened. Like, dang, what happened? Oh, which come got to him? I went anywhere where anyone was going to let me stay there where I didn't have to sleep on the street. That's how I survived. That's how I lived. Guys, what I'm trying to tell you is the journey that this little girl on is not going to be an easy journey for her. Yes, it is really easy right now to attack Rita. It is so easy to attack her and what type of mother she is and what type of person she is. But guess what? Rita is broken. She's broken. This whole thing is sad. And that little girl needs help. And I just hope that people would really sincerely help this girl and not use it for clicks and views, because it's a sad situation. It's really sad. This girl is probably she probably wants to explode and don't know how to lash out, and that's why she got on YouTube and was like, they're doing this and they're doing that, and he ain't this, and he told his family members to molest me, and that's what happened. That girl is hurting. That was help me. I'm frustrated, I'm angry, I'm hurt, and I don't know what to do or where to go. That's what that was. And again, I don't give nobody props for being a basic parent. I'm not giving you props for being a basic parent. Providing a roof over your kids' heads, you're supposed to do that. Providing food, you're supposed to do that. Providing clothes, you're supposed to do that. That's stuff you're required to do. That's being a basic parent. That's being a basic parent. None of my kids have been molested. I love my mother for who she is. My mother was a basic parent. And that's the truth of the matter. She was a basic parent. And I asked her, I said, Mom, why wouldn't you leave this man knowing that he was this mean? Well, I thought I was doing the best I could. We lived at 1500 Menifee Street. Never forget it. House I grew up in. House of Horrors. 1500 Menifee Street, Richmond, Virginia, 23224. So y'all, I know what a chaotic life looks like, and I know what it feels like. It ain't no fun. This girl needs help. Because she has a long road to travel to know what healing feels like, to know what peace feels like. I'll talk to y'all later. I hope y'all, this got a little lengthy. I apologize, but this is really sad. This is really sad. Again, I know where she's at. I know what she's feeling. And it's a lonely, dark place to be right now. Sorry about the lights, guys. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna have to do some story times. I didn't touch on a lot of points in my life, but I'm gonna have to do some story times. My biggest thing was to be a better person, and when I had children, to be a better mother to my children than my mother was to me. I didn't want to drop the ball with my kids. Rita, you dropped the ball, but it's not too late. You still got young children. You need to focus on your kids and not that man. Because at the end of the day, they're what matters the most. That's your legacy. They're part of you. That man can be replaced. Your child cannot. Just remember that. I'll talk to you guys later. Till next time, we're keeping up with Daz. Bye, guys.